Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you're new here, my name is Uche. I have with me today
Feel money.
Okay, today we'll be reacting to Jordan Peterson completely destroys feminist narrative. Alright, so we all know Jordan Peterson, and he's very outspoken when it comes to this kind of situations and even more controversial situations. He doesn't care who you are, he's going to give it to you, and that's one good thing I love about Jordan Peterson. He's just straight to the point and he says his mind. Alright, without wasting much of our time today, we'll be reacting to this, so let's get right into this.
So that's my idea of the patriarchy, which is a system of male dominance of society.
Yeah, but that's not my sense of the patriarchy.
So what's yours?
Well, in what sense is our society male-dominated?
The fact that the vast majority of wealth is owned by men, the vast majority of capital is owned by men. Women do more unpaid labour.
Very tiny proportion of men, and a huge proportion of people who are seriously disaffected are men. Most people in prison are men. Most people who are on the street are men. Most victims of violent crime are men. Most people who commit suicide are men. Most people who die in wars are men. People who do worse in school are men. It's like, where's the dominance here precisely? What you're doing is you're taking a tiny substrata of hyper-successful men and using that to represent the entire structure of Western society. There's nothing about that that's vaguely appropriate.
But I could say equally well that most rape victims are women. Terrible things happen to people of both sexes.
And you could say that with perfect utility, but that doesn't provide any evidence for the existence of a male-dominated patriarchy.
Well,
it just means that terrible things happen to both genders, which they certainly do.
But there are almost no women who rape men, for example. So that is an asymmetry there in sexual violence.
Well, yes, there's an asymmetry in all sorts of places, but that doesn't mean that Western culture is a male-dominated patriarchy. The fact that there are asymmetries has nothing to do with your basic argument.
No, but you might equally...
This is a trope that people just accept. Western society is a male-dominated patriarchy. It's like, no, it's not. That's not true. And even if it has a patriarchal structure to some degree, the fundamental basis of that structure...
Okay, guys, so I understand where he's coming from, but it's true, yeah. When you look at, when you talk about most feminists, they look at the aspect of males being successful, males doing well in sports. The sports, when it comes to football especially, the football stars in football, like the male, they get paid well than the female. When it comes to the NBA, when it comes to NBA and WBA, the NBA players get more paid. But also, let's look at the fact that these people bring in more revenue. Mm-hmm. They've been there before male football started, before the female. So something has been there. So you should know it takes a while before people tend to catch up with that. Yeah. Sponsorship won't be the same. You understand? Like when the number of sponsorship have been like the male World Cup and the female World Cup, it's not the same. Even though people they're catching up, but then we shouldn't use this tiny aspect of when you're doing a population sample, use it just a tiny aspect to represent the entire population, which is you won't get a very good result when it comes to your research. Because now, if you're talking about everything being dominated by male, but you see when it comes to suicide, when it comes to other things, like males suffer the more. It comes to prison, you see more males in prison. It has a point there. I understand where the ladies is trying to come from, like in the Western culture, in the US, when you come to Europe, you see most billionaires, most are males. Before you start seeing, you can count at 10, 20 billionaires, millionaires before you start talking about a female, you know. But then, that shouldn't be a reason why we should say the population or the Western culture is dominated by a patriarchal system now. But the fact that people are now catching up, it is switching, like time with time, everything gets to fall in place. Yeah, so we shouldn't, because the males that are doing more, because probably our society has made it look in the sense that the males...
Apart from even society, it's natural. God has made it like that men would lead, men would be the head. And there's a way God created women. If you make a woman a head, she overdoes it. Like, that is how it is. It's the hormones in females. They can't, I'm not overshadowing females, or I'm not lowering them or kind of putting them down. But that is how God has created it. God has created men. The hormones in men are different from women. when you give a woman a little authority, she takes like she doesn't listen. She won't listen to any idea. She wants to do what is in her head. That is how women are created. And if women take over the world, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. It will be a different place. Men are supposed to be the head. Those are men haven't been treating females well. Those are some, but men, there are some good men out there that treat female the way they're supposed to be treated, like good and well. But a woman be like taking the same salary with her, like for instance in a family, taking the same salary with the husband.
I feel if most people really agitate for equal salary and equal,
yes.
I don't have an issue with that. But my point is, if you want equal salary, then you should be able to work the same work. You should be able to generate the same income as the other person.
Use the same power.
Yeah. Okay. So now you tell a lady. Most times you just tell a lady, okay, we are doing this. You're like, this is a man's job. But when it comes to sharing the salary or getting the income, you want the same. It's not possible. That's the way I see it. Yeah. So if you want to agitate for feminism, I don't have a point. I don't have a problem with that. I believe once a female is giving that input the same as a man is doing, then they should get the same outcome. If their input is the same, then the outcome should be the same.
The inputs cannot be the same because God has made the women fragile. They don't have that strength to do such hard work. Some women are very fierce and can do them, but it's not so easy on them because their body system doesn't take that like the way the men can take it. So, though I feel the women, the way they are trying to be on top and all of that, but in the natural state as God created the world, men are still going to be at the top in almost everything.
All right, guys, let's continue. I don't know why you're heading towards the religion aspects of Facebook.
That structure is not power, it's competence. That's why our society works. It's only when a structure degenerates into tyranny that the fundamental relationships between people become dependent on power. It's not power. If you hire a plumber who's likely to be male, it's not because there's roving bands of tyrannical plumbers forcing you to make that choice. And it's the case with almost every interaction that you have at the face of our culture. You're dealing with people who are offering a service of one form or another, who are usually part of the broad middle class, and and what you're looking for is the person who can offer the best service, and you can find it. It's not a consequence of being dominated by anything that's tyrannical. And then again, our culture, our Western culture, which is by no means perfect, and certainly has tyrannical elements like all cultures do, is the least tyrannical society that's ever been produced, and certainly the least tyrannical society that exists now. This whole patriarchy thing, I think you have no idea how pernicious and dangerous it is.
Well, no, I don't. I really don't. Go on.
Throughout history have fundamentally cooperated to push back against the absolute catastrophe of existence. A terrible death rate, the probability of chronic starvation, early death, disease, the difficulty of raising children with all the death that was associated with that, and to look backwards in time and say, well, basically what happened was men took the upper hand and persecuted women in this tyrannical patriarchy. It's absolutely dreadful misreading of history. It's a terrible thing to teach young women, and it's a horrible thing to inflict upon men.
True, because if you look at most people who are even advocating for feminism, they don't even really know what feminism is about. You just feel like, don't take instructions from men. Well, I'm not going to get married. I don't want any man in my life and stuff because of what they've pushed into them. You know, I have a friend that she told me, I'm not going to get married. I don't want to listen. I'm a feminist. That doesn't make you a feminist because you don't want to listen to a man. No, when you're advocating for equality, you want to be seen as much and the level as a man. No problem. I don't have an issue with that, like I said earlier. But if you're going to advocate for that, then you should be able to measure up.
Yeah.
Now you have a BSc and the man has a master's and the work required. Who is most qualified then? Then the man is most qualified and you say it's because of feminism. Nah, because you have not met that requirement. You are not as prepared or advanced as the man in terms of the knowledge of that position. You can't just tell me, because I don't want to take anything from a man. I'm not going to get married. No, like giving silly excuses for it's feminism is one of, I see it as one of how would I put it? The reasons why most divorce are taking place now, because everybody in homes,
exactly.
the woman is competing with the man. Instead of them coming together to form a united front, but everybody's like, no, I won't take what happened to my mom when she got married back in the days, and a lot of stuff that shouldn't be making sense. Like, it's a family that should be a united front, but this whole incident of feminism, or this whole thing of feminism, has just broken it down. You know, it's a mess. And because most people don't really know the meaning of feminism, they're not well educated, they just pick out what they want to pick from it and like just carry it, run ahead with it, and cause a whole disaster up front for us right now and for the future. Because I feel if you're going to advocate for feminism, it should be something you have more knowledge on. You should know what you're fighting for, not because you just come out now, you can't put a man above me. I'm as equal as a man. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about you. What if you feel that the man shouldn't be above you? Are you as qualified as that person? Are you putting the same input as that person? You know,
same effort.
Yeah, the same effort. If the effort is equal, then I believe you should get the same pay. Now you're talking about football and people arguing that male and female should be paid the same. I believe if female football is generating as much income in ticket sales, in terms of advertising, in terms of TV revenue,
drawing crowds.
Yes. And then I believe they should be paid as much as the male superstars. That is my belief. I don't have an issue with them being paid equal, but you don't expect me to be generating more than you and you're earning at the same. No, it's not possible. I don't say it that way. So yeah, that's my own intake on this whole feminism thing, and that is it.
So you know, talking about the going to the marriage side and all of that, you know, the women are so very, very emotional. Females are emotional. So when you put, when a female is on top of the family, or maybe the head or the breadwinner of the family, it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. So this feminism thing, you have to understand it well. You have to know it from the grassroots. You have to know what you are doing before you stand for it. Men will be men, and women will be women. So that's my advice.
Especially here in Africa, most females who are advocating for this feminism, they don't really know the roots. They don't even understand it. They just do that. Don't take instructions from men, and it's devastating them. Like, it's causing great harm than good for them. Because if you're going to advocate, you need to understand the fundamentals. You need to understand what feminism is about. I'm telling you, like, in Africa, most divorces are based on this. I'm not going to take any instructions from you. You are not ahead. We are co-equals. That's not the point. The point is, if you're going to be advocating for this, you shouldn't just because of the benefit.
Yeah.
You should also work hard for it. You should, because if you're in your workplace, you should also be able to put the same input. Like I said earlier, some females they tell you like, okay, let's go and do this. It's like, nah, those are men's jobs. Those are for men. And still you're advocating for equal rights, equal pay. That isn't it. So that's my point, what I took out from what Peterson is saying. So guys, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for being here with us. I really appreciate the subscribing, the liking, and the sharing. Please don't forget to keep liking and sharing and subscribing, guys. And if you have any videos you want us to react to, can you drop that in the comment section, and they will definitely do justice to that. So come your way next time.